Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Gormon Productions Wrestling Podcast.
All right, good morning. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 2 of Gormon Productions Wrestling Podcast and my first ever review of Raw. Checking out July 11th. It's bright and early this morning and just coming off of Raw, and so we're just going to jump right into this. We have a lot to cover. So, all right, so we open up Battle Royal. Not a bad way to start off the show, at least to get right to the action. Apollo Crews got a little push there. Usually, I'd have to look back to see whoever, they always throw out all the guys there during the dark hour, get them all down the ring, and then they let one person get that entrance. And it was Apollo this time. So sometimes that's the winner, sometimes it's not. So good for him, getting that little bit of a push. Stipulation number 1 contender for Miz. I'm not going to jump too deep into Miz right now. I have a lot of ideas for that guy, but we're not going to get into that just right now. About halfway through the match, Alberto Del Rio got a really nice babyface pop, and I hope that they take notice to that. I also hope that they don't look at that and say, oh, we need to package him as a babyface, because that will just annoy us. It's a sad truth, but if they would just let us cheer for him organically and not change too much about his entrance or his persona, I think it'll do quite well. However, something just seemed silly. Towards the end, Alberto goes through the middle ropes, and you get that kind of false fake elimination, which typically, comes back towards the end. Nobody knows about it in the ring. He jumps back in. He could either win or he couldn't, but instead he just climbed right back in the ring. Had no implications, had no reason for that to happen. So that was kind of strange. And great for Darren Young. It's easy for me to say, oh, I saw that coming, but I kind of did. Because when I saw Bob Backlund outside, because I thought, well, if Bob Backlund's here, there's really no reason for him to be here if Darren wasn't going to win. So as soon as I saw Bob out there, I'm like, there's a good chance Darren's going to come away with this thing. And good for him. Glad that he's getting the push. What I did not like was that he didn't eliminate anybody at the end. That was almost a heel way of winning, of having two more or less baby faces eliminate each other towards the end, and he just sit there kind of dumbfounded. That sounds more like something the way someone like The Miz would win. So maybe they were going for humor more than anything, but we will see how that goes with him being the number 1 contender going into Battleground. Overall, with commercials, that segment was 17 minutes long. I'm actually going to start timing these segments, so just mostly out of curiosity to see how long these things run and where they could, skimp on stuff and where they really need to focus more attention. So it's going to be interesting as time progresses. Quick preview of Lesnar versus Orton. I'm not going to jump into that too deeply because we have a lot to cover this morning. The only thing I do want to say is that I didn't like the way that they announced it. I realized both of those guys have contracts, only so many appearances, especially Lesnar. Having him come out to the ring just to announce the match probably wasn't going to happen with everything going on in the UFC right now. But it was just kind of an awkward way to announce this match. I don't know. I'm going to get more into that later. Next, coming up, we got Sheamus versus Zack Ryder. And, Zack Ryder, I don't know who he ticked off in WWE to have this giant push at WrestleMania in the opening match, only to have his title stripped and he go back to NXT and then back over here. I don't know what they're doing with him, but it's not working, in my opinion. Now, I do like the beard. I like the new, more aggressive approach to his style, jumping right at to Sheamus right at the get-go. He needs a new entrance. Especially the music doesn't fit anymore. It's hokey, it's cheesy, it fit his old personality. If he wants to get more aggressive, you got to get rid of the woo 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 thing and the whole pop song entrance. So something to look into. So Sheamus comes out of there on top. Then you get Rusev, coming out there, and poor Rusev. I don't know what they're going to do with him, and I don't know what he's going to do with himself. Quite frankly, he's going to be stuck in this persona for quite a long time. It's going to be kind of hard to come off of an international heel angle and go good guy, especially as a Russian. So, but good for Zach if he's getting a little bit of a shove towards the positive. Overall, very short match, only lasted 4 minutes 43 seconds, and these times, just FYI, I'm running it through the entire segment. So from that first entrance to the last time that they're talking about, and they move on to something else. So it's not just match time; it is camera to camera. So it's going to be interesting. So 4 minutes 43 seconds, very short. I'm not even going to worry about Breezango versus the Lucha Dragons. Two low card heels do not make one mid card babyface. It makes sense to put them together, I suppose. I'd rather watch them fight each other, personally. Whole segment, 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Not a whole lot of implications. I love the Lucha Dragons. I'm so glad that Kalisto got a push a while back with the individual title for the draft. I could see those two being split, and they do very well. Then you go into the Rollins report, a new segment. Which, I'm sorry, they introduced it kind of as Rollins saying, I have this new idea, the Rollins report, as if he came up with this on the spot. And then all of a sudden it has this nice video package intro, right? So you got to think about stuff like that. I was so excited when he came out to the ring and there was no stage, or there was no, different mat down, or, kind of a banner or anything like that. Because I'm like, all right, good. They realize that they can't just throw this in and say, he had this idea, but they can't just have all this props and stuff, but they had a video package. So I think they should have paid a little bit more attention to that. It wasn't the worst idea in the world, quite frankly. I will actually give them props of the way that they're handling Roman Reigns' suspension. Rather than have the announcers address it and it become very real, they're letting Rollins, who's on a heel run right now, address it, and helps Roman in the long run. The whole video editing thing we've seen before, but it wasn't a bad idea. They did it well because they didn't try to make it look super real. The background for Rollins was slightly different than Reigns. At one point, Reigns had the title, and then he put the title away. And let's keep in mind, he's not even the champion at the moment. So it wasn't the worst idea in the world to try to address the situation, make sure Reigns stays relevant going into Battleground. So it wasn't a bad idea. Here's my frustration. You bring out Dean Ambrose, and arguably one of the best confrontations between those two. It was a nice, slow build of aggression. All right, and something pretty rare. Those two have really good chemistry together. I really liked the way that build up nice and slow to a very aggressive ending, only to take it away. And nothing frustrates me more than when you could have a nice, exciting main event out of the blue and they postpone it a week. I get it. You want people to tune in. I wish they would just roll with it. Sometimes I wish they could have this shut up and wrestle mentality, and you just get a referee out there and you ring that bell, and all of a sudden you have a match, and all of a sudden people are texting and calling each other, dude, we got a title match right now. But instead they postpone it a week, and quite frankly, it doesn't have any implications. Who cares? So what? If Rollins wins, he goes, it doesn't matter. He go into a triple threat match the very next week. It doesn't matter who goes into that match as champion. So, but I get it. They're trying to keep that storyline hot, knowing that they don't have Roman Reigns. So I get it. But the whole segment, 12 minutes, 51 seconds, not bad. Kept it relevant. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. Then you got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the 1900 time. I will say this, there was a nice gradual heat between the two of them on the rampway. Them kind of crossing paths, and Sami kind of takes this pretty realistic swing at Owens, and that fuels his fire. So that was actually fairly realistic looking. Then you run into Owens versus Cesaro. Cesaro is on a hot streak, and I sincerely hope with this brand split that they bump him up to one of the top guys, whatever brand he gets into, because you've got this, man, I don't know, Rick Rude / Sergeant Slaughter babyface almost. It's a weird combination, but he just, he's got a lot of charisma, and he could really be something if they let him. But overall, from start to finish, you're looking at 19 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a long time when you really think about a 3-hour show to focus on just two guys. So hopefully come Battleground, this is the last time we have to do the whole Owens versus Zayn thing, and let them move on, because I love both of them both to death, and I know they are going to be tremendously successful moving forward. Nothing to say about Heath Ledger versus Titus O'Neil. 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Social outcasts make no sense to me whatsoever. You take four, at the beginning, 4 really low card heels and put them together, and you call yourselves a social outcast, and you have t-shirts made of that. I don't know. It's like the whole anarchy t-shirt. You don't believe in organization, and you're rebels, but you have custom-made t-shirts together. It's just weird. The whole social outcast thing wouldn't have been a bad idea. We get it. You're low card, you're not moving up anywhere, so let's rebel together on stuff. Don't have t-shirts, and don't act like yourselves. My goodness, you go out there acting like idiots. If you would act serious and actually try to take on this little rebel thing, it would have worked better, but I'm not even going to spend much time on that, because we have to roll into the New Day versus the Wyatts at the compound. So I don't watch TNA, but I heard enough about the whole Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy final deletion thing that I watched it briefly, and I don't know what this is that we're doing all of a sudden with these matches outside that are filmed and packaged together and edited together, but I hope we get away from it very quickly. On the flip side, trying something new. Years ago, somebody once said, hey, what if we put a cage around this ring? And they said, oh, that's stupid. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. You know what I mean? So I'm all about trying new, because you never know what could work. But I just don't think it makes sense. The punches don't sound the same. The editing is weird. It's just not an avenue that I think we need to go down. It didn't mean anything either. I can imagine paying a ticket to go to Raw, and then you sit there and watch a movie that ran 6 minutes and 20 seconds. So I hope we stray away from this little genre as much as possible, but I guess we'll find out. And then, my goodness, probably the longest segment of the evening, Gallows and Anderson versus Enzo and Cass. The whole thing start to finish, and I think they had 2 commercial breaks, 22 minutes and 8 seconds, which I get it. It's a big storyline. I adore Enzo and Cass. There's just something about those two that just grab my attention. They're funny. They're great on the mic. They remind me a little bit of Hall and Nash, just because you got the tall guy, and then Enzo being more of the mic guy. So they work tremendously well, and it was a good match. I loved the "We want Cena, no we don't" chant halfway through. That just kind of cracked me up, and then you get a big babyface pop when Cena came out. It'll be a cool 6-man tag, probably leading up to be that Gosh, well, maybe not. I mean, Styles gets the win over Cena, but that's his first pay-per-view win this last pay-per-view, and so for Cena to beat him, that would be Styles' fifth loss at a pay-per-view. I don't know how much longer they're going to let that go, but most likely you're going to see Cena, Enzo, and Cass take the win, meaning that John Cena's got one win, Styles has one win, and we got to do a tiebreaker kind of a thing. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes with that. Moving into the divas, or excuse me, the women, Sasha and Dana Brooks, 17 minutes and 49 seconds. I think 2 commercial breaks, just shy of third place in terms of the longest segment of the evening, which surprises me. Usually, or I should say, growing up, the women's matches were 20 seconds long. So glad that they're getting the acknowledgement that they need and the recognition that they deserve. Here's the thing. You got to take that microphone away from Charlotte. She doesn't know how to use it. She's just so awkward with it. She ended the promo twice. She tried to end it, and then she got right back on the mic, and just a very awkward ending. And we need a plan, or we need somebody in charge of helping those ladies out with their mic skills. Because in ring, awesome, best it's ever been. But we've got to work on those mic skills. However, and moving into the final segment of the night, a little message for everyone at NXT. If you are worried about your mic skills, you could never be as bad as Stephanie McMahon on the microphone. They need to take that microphone away from her permanently. I've never seen anybody so awkward in promos or in conversations in the ring. She interrupts everybody. I've never seen anybody interrupt people before. She will constantly make these side comments that will interject into somebody else that breaks up the flow. She addresses the audience more times than she should. She didn't used to be like that. At least I don't remember it back during kind of the later years of the Attitude Era, or moving into the Ruthless Aggression era. I don't remember her being that bad, but it's awkward, and it's also evident in the ring with Shane, the way that he took the microphone away from her. Not even in the sense that we watched that back, and that was not intent, or that was not planned. That was something he did to get her to shut up, and it kind of cracked me up a little bit. But yeah, somebody at NXT needs to help Stephanie out with her mic skills. Overall, this sucker was 17 minutes long, and it was a waste of time. Vince, honestly, on the microphone's not doing that great either. I mean, who cares? Honestly, at the end of the day, we knew one of them was going to be the commissioner of SmackDown, and one was going to be of Raw. And now you throw in this, well, you guys need general managers. Well, why? Why do you need general managers to come in? That just means it's going to go right back to where it was, where it's you have somebody like William Regal as the general manager, and that's going to cut down on Shane's camera time. I know it. I know that's what's going to happen. And then, someone like Kane, it just, if they're going to do this well, they need to bump up who these guys are going to be. I could foresee Triple H coming back. And if you do bring Triple H back, it needs to be on Shane's side and not Stephanie's. Get away from that authority thing. A little bit of heat between the two of them. I think that's where you bring him in. And if there is anybody that could be better as a GM underneath Stephanie McMahon right now, it would be Daniel Bryan. I think that it surprises me that they don't utilize people like Daniel Bryan or Edge, who are out due to injury permanently, and get them on the camera more, because that's where, especially Edge. But Daniel Bryan would be excellent. A lot of heat between him and Stephanie on a weekly basis, I think, would be good. So that would be my recommendation. You throw Daniel Bryan in with Stephanie, and you throw Triple H in with Shane. And however, I will say, if you've got two brands competing with each other, it's going to be for the better. The product overall was always better when WCW was around because they had to compete. So if they're competing against themselves, as long as somebody's competing with somebody, in the end, things are going to get better. So, all right. I'm going to wrap up. I'm not going to be too long-winded on these topics. I will be back to review NXT in a couple days, and then SmackDown, and and as well as the Cruiserweight thing coming up. So thank you all very much for joining me. Feel free to leave comments. Appreciate hit that like button, and we'll get into more things later. All right. Thank you all so much.